Hey folks, it's Nick Granville. So that was a little bit of messing around with some of the chameleon groove. So today what I thought I'd talk about on Guitar Daily is the use of wrong notes. I get this all the time. People say, there are no wrong notes in music. Really? No wrong notes? Yes, there are. I'll give you an example. Just looping a C major 7 chord there, right? You can hear that note just sounds horrendous against that chord, doesn't it? It's just not good. So, again, C major 7. So we had an F note against the C chord, just wasn't good, right? But right, so you can see that F note there in that context works perfectly. So when people, it's one thing I hear all the time. I go and teach on these workshops and different things, and people say there are no wrong notes in music, and I go, really? There absolutely are wrong notes you can play. So the key thing to think about is don't think there are no wrong notes. You need the better way of thinking about it, and the better way of teaching it, I think, is to think, well, there's wrong application of notes. So you see there, that F note on the C major 7 was just a bad choice, wasn't it? A bad choice. But when I used it as a passing note to get from, say, it worked perfectly fine, right? So that's one of the things I would say is, like, as a beginner or an intermediate jazz player, then really what you need to do is focusing on is trying to find as many right notes as possible. Now, what do I mean by notes that are right? I mean notes that fit the chords. This is one thing that happens a lot with jazz education. One of the first things that people learn is like a blues, right? And they learn like a B-flat blues. This is a gripe I have, right? I love the blues, don't get me wrong, it's great. But the first thing they do is they learn the blues, like a blues tune or whatever, and then they start playing music, and they play a blues, right? And then what they do is they go and they just play blues scale over the whole thing. This, right? Totally cool, right? But that's not playing chord changes, is it? It's not really playing the right notes. Think about it, right? If I have a B-flat 7 chord, and you're teaching students from the beginning to go a sharp 9 against that note. Now our ear knows that because we've heard it so often in the blues, but it's not a right note, if you will, right? Sure, it sounds great, or by all means, but I think when you're learning to play jazz or any style of music really, try and play the right notes first. That would be a better note to choose. Right? And then of course, you can start playing with the tension sounds. The other one that happens a lot too is like autumn leaves, right? You see people going, I've seen first year combos at the university where they were doing autumn leaves, and I was like, really? Sure, easier chord changes. And then they just play B-flat major over the whole lot. That's crappy jazz improvisation, isn't it? It's not good. So to me, it's like, the better thing to do is to try and play the proper chord changes, right? Which is 2, 5, 1 and B-flat major to the 4 chord. And then here's the tricky bit. A minor 2, 5, 1. right? You can't blanket scale just B flat major. You have to be able to play chord changes, right? So trying to find more right notes, I think, is the best thing. So this whole notion of there are no wrong notes, I think is the wrong way to start. The better thing to do is to think, what are the right notes? All right, and then what happens is once you find what the right notes are, you can start to sort of be very calculated in playing out, right? Then you can start to use chromaticism in a way that makes sense, because if you can't play in, you can't play out, right? It makes sense. It doesn't, right? But yet I see so many people do it all the time. They say, oh, there are no wrong notes. Really? Now, I can make those notes work, don't get me wrong, by how I apply them, but they are, to most people's ears, tension and just the wrong note against that chord at that point in time. So I think it's interesting. I remember seeing Stefan Harris, the great vibes player, play in Wellington, and he did a workshop, and he said, someone asked him what he looks for in musicians, and he gave a great response that's kind of stayed with me. He said, I look for musicians who make good decisions. Think about it, right? That kind of sums up everything. A decision is how you're going to place it within the beat. A decision is what notes you're going to play when, how you're going to play those. These are all decisions that happen. These are all decisions I think about when I play, right? That's a decision. It's a decision not only in groove, but in sound, approach, everything. Could be. But aesthetically, that would be very different, wouldn't it? So I would urge anyone who's like a beginner or an intermediate player to try and find right notes, as many right notes as you can. Once you can do that, then you can be a bit more clever about what you do that gets out. Now, if you're an advanced player, what would I suggest? Well, you don't need my advice if you're an advanced player, right? You already know what the right notes are, or you wouldn't be an advanced player. So if you're an advanced player, then do what you're doing, right? Because you're an advanced player. You're already doing the right things by the sound of it. Hope this has been useful. Anyway, there's just some thoughts I had about right notes. I hear it all the time. People saying, oh, there are no wrong notes. And I just kind of scratch my head and go, yeah, there are. There are heaps of wrong notes. And I hear people using shitty choices all the time. Anyway, my name's Nick Granville. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate everybody tuning in. I can't believe I've cracked 110 of these episodes of daily videos on YouTube. So if you like this, then share it with people who you think might be useful. If you know someone who plays a whole lot of wrong notes, share this with them, because maybe it's the advice that they need to hear. If you know someone who is doing things right, then share it with them too. But the main thing is share it. Help me show what I'm doing with this daily stuff to people every day. And if there's anything you want me to cover, leave it in the comments below. I'm chipping away at people's different things. I had a recommendation for Days of Wine and Roses, so that's the one that came out yesterday. I hope you liked it. Thanks so much, and I'll play you out with some more of that kind of funky groove stuff.